Episode 2.
Sam's got to do it.
I know, dude.
Episode 2.
Listen to that guy, dude. He's like the perfect amount of raspy, bro. Freaking Marvin Gaye on the mic, dude.
Got me a girlfriend.
Dude, see?
It wasn't my pickup line. I'll tell you that.
You don't have smooth game or what?
No, did I tell you? You want to hear the story about that?
What is it?
Okay, so me and Kimmy are in the GRI training, right? And so we got a whole week there, right? And I'm sitting behind her, and I'm like, man, she is beautiful. I mean, I got to find a way to talk to her. So we go the whole week, and I chicken out every time. So it's the last day, and I'm like, this is it. I mean, just no other. I mean, it's do or die time, right? So now, mind you, we're at the Amarillo Association of Realtors, and I go up to her, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? My name's Sam. So you sell real estate here locally? And she looks at me and she's like, yeah. I mean, that's what I do. You sell real estate here in Amarillo, huh? Yeah.
Speaking of Amarillo, real talk.
Yeah.
Episode 2, welcome aboard. We're actually going to be talking about Amarillo, Texas today.
Awesome.
We're going to be talking about fun facts, unique things you may or may not know about Amarillo. So I'm excited for this episode.
Should be. I mean, what's not to like about Amarillo?
We'll get into that too. Stay tuned to the end to find out what we don't like about Amarillo.
Fair enough.
What are some unique facts about Amarillo, Texas?
Well, so interestingly enough, I went to Tascosa High School. Amarillo was actually, so there's just a small ghost town now. So for you people that love the Wild Wild West stories, I mean, there's an actual little ghost town called Tascosa, just outside of Amarillo. I think it's on the way to Wildorado / Boys Ranch, another great place, by the way. So it's called Tascosa, and it was actually this is from the internet historical markers. So I got that backing, but let's just the internet's not correct about everything. Only about 99% of things.
Let's ask ChatGPT.
Yeah. So it was like it was going to be another little Dodge City because, I mean, for those that don't know, they had a lot of cattle drives that went up through here. Charles Goodnight was a cattle driver, so it was going to be like another little small cattle drive place. And even now, if you go to downtown Amarillo, there's a little, pond, marshy pond. It was actually called Horseshoe Lake. I'd call it more of a pond, but it was a watering hole for the cattle that would stop on the way up into Kansas. They would stop at that watering hole so the cows could get a drink and have a little place to rest. So you go through a little bit of time, and we've got the trains coming through. Now we have the train system coming through. And Amarillo was a stop for the trains to pick up both cattle and produce.
Wow, man.
So
wow.
Fun fact, see? You learned something today you didn't know you were going to learn.
History, man.
History, man.
Well, that's your background, too.
Absolutely, yeah. History teacher.
Yeah.
So, I taught history and government. So, I mean, I loved learning about history, loved teaching about history and a little bit of government. So, mostly useless facts. But, you got to have a little of that. Yeah.
If you're ever on Trivial Pursuit, you're winning.
I'm winning.
I already know this.
Yeah.
Did you teach a lot of local history? Like Amarillo specific or the Panhandle?
Well, no. So it was mostly U.S. history,
Okay.
but I really liked the Civil War history. Obviously the Revolutionary War, Constitutional era history. I love that. As far as local, a lot of that deals with, of course, and when we get to Civil War era, Texas was obviously a part of that as well. So I really like that. Randall County, which is, it's going to be the Canyon area, South Amarillo, was named after a Confederate general.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Dude.
Hey, I knew that this was going to be Sam's episode. Right
Let's go. See,
Sam's
everybody's learning
episode.
something today, man.
Hey.
I love this.
Hey, so going back to Amarillo, I don't know where the name came from, although I do know it means yellow in Spanish. So where
I thought it was an
from,
old wooden ship used during the Civil War era.
No.
I'm just kidding.
That sounded great.
But I like your thoughts.
Yeah, Amarillo yellow, man. I think wasn't it because there was Yellow River or something like that was running through here? Isn't that what they called, like the Canadian River or something?
Yeah, very well could be. I don't know. Somebody knows. Maybe they could just drop a comment in.
Yeah, drop a comment. Let us know.
Don't know. I mean, school us. Could be way off on this.
Hey, we're here to learn too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
man. That's right.
Yeah.
Those are fun facts about Amarillo, man. Like what? Because you grew up here. You were born and raised here.
Born and raised.
So from a local, what are some of your personal favorite things about Amarillo?
Well, growing up here, I have got to say it's got to be the culture and the people. Just growing up here, I had a great childhood. I mean, people would just give you the shirt off their backs here. I love that. And I'm sure there are a lot of places where people could say the same. I know that there's places where people wouldn't say that. But for me, just growing up here, it was like, people, it's a small town, kind of a small town vibe, even though we're growing as a city, obviously, but you still have those people that just genuinely, just pull over on the side of the road, see what you need. If you broke down, give you things that you need. And I just love the community. That's gotta be it.
I love that, man. And now, Shaye, you didn't grow up here.
No.
So being here now for how long now?
4 years.
So what are some of your favorite things about Amarillo?
Yeah, I would go right along with Sam. Just being here for the 4 years that we've been here is the community feel that you get from just about everybody that you talk to, whether it's in the grocery store or wherever you are. There's so many people that are so welcoming and make you feel like a family. This is I know there's lots of people that say it's like a big small town, where you've got that small town feel where I feel like everybody knows everybody. But I mean, with a population of over 200,000 people, it's not as small as I think it feels like.
So funny story, real quick. I love that you said that both of you have said like this is the biggest small town, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a small town feel, even though we're over 200,000. I think over 223,000 in population now. But this is what's a funny story is one time Tamara was sick. She wasn't feeling that great. And so she didn't want to put makeup on and get all dolled up to go eat lunch, right? But we were going to go eat lunch. So we had this idea like, hey, why don't we drive to Canyon and you won't see anybody that we know, right? Yeah. So we go into Feldman's Diner in Canyon.
Love that place.
And as soon as we walk in, to the right-hand side, there is a tabletop of 20 people that all know me from West Texas A&M University.
That's funny.
So Tamara recognizes they know me immediately, and she kept walking like she wasn't with me.
Like she didn't know you.
Yeah, bro. So she didn't have to be seen. And I call that the peel off. So if any of you spouses are out there, that's the peel off maneuver. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Funny story. But yeah, Amarillo is over 223,000 in population now. I think the median home price today is $243,000. So I think
$1,000.
$243,000, bud. That is the median home price in Amarillo, Texas.
That's growing up, I remember my mom telling me she bought the house that I grew up in for $4,000.
Oh man.
Wow.
You can't buy a stick of wood now for $4,000 on a piece of land. I mean, it's just that just goes to show the appreciation that happens when you buy real estate. Yes, there's going to be downtimes. There's going to be times that it plateaus. It's going to be times that it doesn't go so hot. But it's a steady appraisal or an appreciation in value.
100%. I mean, this is the only industry or sector that over the course of history in the U.S., real estate has only appreciated.
Yep.
So even going into recessionary periods, it comes out even more so than what it dropped into the recession periods at. So real estate still, in your opinion, great investment?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Awesome.
Absolutely. You look at people that buy, they pour money into other things. It's like you go buy a brand new car. The second you drive it off the lot, what happens to it?
Depreciates.
It goes down in value. Yep. Homes. What happens to the second you buy it? For the most part,
It doesn't depreciate.
it doesn't depreciate. Exactly.
It's amazing, man. I love that you said that too. So Amarillo is kind of like a unique melting pot in the real estate segment, right? Because in 2008, we actually didn't even see a bump really with the economy.
Right.
Everybody that lived through 2008 here in Amarillo, we have such a diverse business and economic status here with between like Bell Helicopter and health systems and hospitals and
You got to mention agriculture.
Agriculture.
Agriculture's a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agriculture. You have universities here with Amarillo College. You have WT. There's so many segments of the market here that are so well insulated for recessionary periods. I had a wise man once tell me here in Amarillo, he's an old mentor of mine. He said, Derek, if you can't find a way to start a business and have it successful in Amarillo, Texas, you shouldn't be in business. Because this is one of like the most favorable cities in the USA to start and own and operate a business.
I believe that 100%.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's part of, again, we go to Amarillo, going back to our culture, Amarillo has a pro-business, less government feel and attitude. And I hope it stays that way.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the best government is the government that stays out of your way. And like the least that you see them, the less that you see them, the better it is. And so, I just look at other places that don't have that same kind of feel and that same kind of regulatory system. And we don't necessarily have that. We have a thriving business attitude here where we're going to stay out of your way and just do what you got to do. Also, I think it goes back to networking. We have a good network system here in Amarillo. And also, lastly, Amarillo is positioned in a really good place in the U.S. It's like center of USA, right? You were about the same distance from the West Coast, same distance to the East Coast. And I know big businesses like that.
100%. And so what's really amazing, I love that point because it's attractive for businesses. In-state, out-of-state, come here to Texas. It's a great place to do business, right? But what I love, too, that you said is like we're such a travel-through hub because we do have an international airport here.
Yep.
And a highway interstate.
And it's we're 4.5, 5 hours to Dallas. We're 4.5 hours to Albuquerque. We're 4 hours to Oklahoma City. We're 3.5. You could be on the ski slopes in 3 hours and 45 minutes if you go to Santa Fe.
Yeah.
4 hours to Red River. So you're in a place where in just a short amount of distance, you can be pretty much anywhere you want to be. Mountains. We have the Gulf of Mexico. Doesn't take that long. Beautiful country in South Texas. But I love that about Amarillo because our median home price is below the national average.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So with us being below the national average, it's a great place to invest. It's a great place for you to purchase real estate. So I love that you were mentioning that about businesses because you're right. I mean, I think that's why so many businesses are flocking here. That's why so many mom and pop businesses are here. That's why you have generational businesses here.
Right outside of Amarillo, you got Canyon with you were talking about going to West Texas A&M University, so that's where I went to college too. In fact, I was a police officer at the time I was going to college, and so I was working nights. Just a small little deviation here. I was working nights, and I would get off of work at 7:00 a.m. and I would go to classes from 8 to noon. I'm trying to muscle through my college to get my college degree. And I was so tired, I was, getting off work, going straight to college. Then I had to be back at work that night. And so there was a couple of times when I, fell asleep in class. So it happened. One time, I didn't know if you knew this, but you can actually hear yourself snore. Because I did that. And so, anyway, it's just a small deviation. But WTAMU is a awesome little college setting and a nice little college town. Most of the time it's a pretty quiet place. Mm-hmm. When the school's going in, it gets pretty busy. And I love that. They got the, WT football out there. It's fun to watch. The WT girls volleyball is awesome to watch. They got the box out there is what they call it. It's fun to go watch that. Now going back to Amarillo, have y'all been to the Symphony, Amarillo Symphony?
I haven't been
I
yet.
haven't
No.
personally.
Oh, you got to go. It's fun. It's like one of the
I mean, we just redid the Performing Arts Center within the last decade, right? Like that
Yes.
whole brand new space. I mean, a lot of downtown Amarillo has been completely renovated. I mean, I almost equate it to like Bricktown in Oklahoma City, just without the river. Like they've done so many improvements to downtown now that with Hodgetown and the Sod Poodles, that whole stadium
it's
is
a fun
beautiful
atmosphere. Yes.
Yeah, man. Matter of fact, we can see it right out here outside of our office windows, man.
Yep.
But then you have all the street improvements, all the nightlife, the diverse restaurants and businesses downtown. And I love that, Amarillo decided to pour back into some of that community and get some more attention downtown, because there for a while it felt like that was getting neglected,
I think it was. Yeah. There's just a little bit of a downturn in the economy. And I think that I don't know what the requirements are as far as renovations, but I don't know if maybe they were a little too strict or something. But now that there are some renovations going on downtown, for example, that I'm trying to think of it's the Firestone little apartment complexes downtown.
Yeah.
They renovated that. It used to be an old Firestone
Yeah.
tire shop. They renovated that. Man, it was awesome.
Man, like let's play a little I'm gonna give you a little trivia here.
Let's go.
And no,
Is it history?
They were not prepared for this. So, what locally here in the Panhandle, Amarillo area, was purchased by Taylor Sheridan for the show 1883 and or Yellowstone? Either one of you know?
No idea.
The 4-6 ranches.
Really?
So the 4-6 ranches in between Panhandle and Border, one of the largest ranches here in the Texas Panhandle, was bought by Taylor Sheridan as part of the show of Yellowstone and or 1883.
Wow.
So
Okay.
for a period of time while Yellowstone was shooting, they used to see Sam Elliott, who lives in Brownsville, Oregon, by the way. Cool. But they used to stay across from Crush downtown, the downtown bar.
Yeah.
That old building that they renovated, it's now like a hotel, and that's where a bunch of the actors would stay and actresses. So Sam Elliott would stay there. There a bunch of times Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, people were seeing him downtown, and it was all during the shooting of those movies. So
wow,
little famous fact about Amarillo right there, man.
Okay.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
hey, going back to the Sod Poodles, that's probably one of my favorite things to go do. There were, I think, 2 or 3 different events that we had thrown when I was working at the title company, and just getting people together to go and hang out. I mean, baseball's an easy thing to go and, like, you don't really have to pay that close attention to have a blast doing it. And that also just goes back to my childhood and growing up, because we had a AA affiliate of the LA Dodgers in Ogden, Utah, where I grew up. They were known as the Ogden Raptors, and that's what I grew up doing. We also have the Salt Lake Bees as well. That's a AAA ball club, but local to like where I grew up. I mean, within 10 minutes of where I grew up, where our house was, that's what we did on a regular basis, was go there. And actually one of my uncles is the print shop that he works for, which is also a family business. They print all of their tickets through them. And so, I mean, we were given tickets by our family and saying, hey, go and hang. Like that's what we did all the time. But just brings me back. Like that was a blast.
That was our childhood too. I mean, we used to be called the Amarilladillas before the Sod Poodles.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what we used to do in the summertime is, especially after school was out, is we'd go to Wonderland. So we go to Wonderland Park, which is an amusement park here in Amarillo that is like the Six Flags of the North, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you can go see, the Houston Astros or the Texas Rangers, depending on who you favor, of the North with the Sod Poodles. But that's what we used to do, is we used to come over here and go to Wonderland all day and then
that's cool.
Get worn out. And then we go to watch the Dillas, a.k.a. now the Sod Poodles, play baseball. And what was really cool is they used to always have fireworks. So anytime around the 4th of July, you'd get to also see the fireworks show and hang out. It was just a great time, great atmosphere. Yeah. And now that they've redone that and you have Hodgetown, the stadium, I mean, what better name for a baseball team than a Sod Poodle?
Yeah.
What is a Sod Poodle? I've been asked that question.
Prairie dog?
It's got to be a prairie dog.
Yeah, I think it's like a version of a prairie dog.
I'm pretty sure it's a prairie dog.
Yeah.
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 I don't know if there's any differentiator between the two, but I don't know if it's the same
Vicious
thing.
critter. Vicious.
Yeah. I mean, a prairie dog sounds vicious, right? It's a dog in the prairie. A sod poodle. I mean, who doesn't like a poodle? Everybody likes a poodle.
Yeah, we're just ready to cuddle while we play baseball. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, but yeah, you don't want them. You don't want it to hit the back because they'll tear it out of the park.
Man.
When it was the Dillas, so I used to take my daughters to the Dillas game, and we would sit and, the back, whatever the side seats out there about third base line or first base line. One time I was sitting out in the third base line right in foul territory, and man, this guy smoked it into foul territory. And believe me, I have no baseball skills whatsoever, but that ball is screaming right for my youngest daughter's head. She's probably 5 years old, and just out of nowhere, the dad reflexes come in, and bam, man, I knocked that. I didn't catch it. It probably broke my hand, but I did knock that ball away from my. It had got it right in the head, but
man.
So yeah, talk about you don't have to pay much attention, but
You got to pay some attention
Yeah,
when you're talking about fly balls.
if you're in foul territory, you better watch out.
Man, yeah, there's so many fun things I feel like Amarillo has here locally that, like everything from like Synergy, right, which is a great family field.
blast.
Go
It's a
watch a
blast.
movie, go play laser tag, go bowling, arcade games. They got like a whole sky amusement park thing, like above the whole thing. Like there's so many things like that. Sod Poodles.
Yeah.
Tons of parks all through Amarillo. Tons of parks. What are some of your other favorite things in Amarillo?
Okay, so you're talking about in the city limits, or are we talking about just in the area?
I'd say in and or around Amarillo.
Okay, definitely. It's got to be one of them's got to be Palo Duro Canyon.
100%.
Yeah, that Palo Duro Canyon is fun. So I did a little bit of mountain bike riding, and they have an annual event there called 24 Hours in the Canyon.
I had a buddy that did that.
Absolutely, where they just literally ride for 24 hours. Now I haven't done that. I
Do you know when that is?
I do not.
And is it annually?
We ought to do that.
It is annually.
Yeah, that'd be good to
You
find that out.
comment below if you want to see us three do the 24/7 ride in the canyon.
It's got to be a lot of comments.
Yeah, if we get 1,000 likes and subscribers,
Yeah.
we'll go do that.
Let's go.
So yeah, that's pretty good. But I will tell you that that place is known for mountain bike riding.
Yeah.
Like people from all over come down there to go mountain bike riding because it's challenging. Of course, they have easy trails, but
Like
there
Sunflower.
are difficult trails. Yes,
Which
I'm a
man, it's
Sunflower guy.
like you go to Palo Duro Canyon and it's beautiful, right? If you've never seen Canyon Country, it's beautiful. Think of the Grand Canyon on a lesser scale, but we are the second largest canyon in the
Second
U.S.
largest,
Right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And so when you go in, it's beautiful to look at, but you would never know the crazy beautiful scenery when you start mountain biking.
Yeah.
That is right inside the roadways you never would see otherwise.
you wouldn't see it otherwise.
I mean, you're
right.
riding right next to rivers and painted walls on hill. It's beautiful. I just recently, it took me 30-something years to finally go mountain biking in that canyon. And I lived out there 4 and 5 days a week when I was at college, like all 4 years. I'd go hiking. We go climbing. We go do everything out in that canyon. And I never went mountain biking until recently, probably within the last couple of years.
And what a way to get in shape.
Oh, man. It
It'll
just,
tear you up.
beautiful. Beautiful. Sorry. Keep going, Sam.
Well, I can't remember what else I was going to say. But Palo Duro Canyon is it's a great place to go. It's also, if you're not really into mountain bike riding, they do have campsites down there. If you just want to hang out with the family, it's a great place to, to stay the night, like get out in nature, so to speak, and just
Lighthouse Trail, very popular hike.
absolutely. Yep.
I think a family could do that, right? It's one of the easier trails, I think, that's out there.
Yeah.
Of course, you have, are they still doing the Play Texas out there?
Yes.
Which is incredible. If you've ever seen it, they've got fake lightning strikes and like all kinds of stuff in that production.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And again, that's something where people from all around come to go watch that. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. And I think even with the local economy kind of booming, I think over the last few to several years, we've even started seeing Airbnbs and short-term rentals all off the canyon rim, which was never there until recently. You have I'm going to go ahead and plug this in there too, but you have Maris Adventures on the other side of the canyon, which is the largest like outdoor ATV, I think, park in the nation. So
I
you
didn't
can
know
go
that.
out there and go
didn't know
Jeep
that.
touring and all kinds of stuff right out in Palo Duro Canyon. So many cool things out there.
Wow, that's
And
good to know.
so from Amarillo, that's a 15, 20-minute drop tops.
Yep.
I mean, and we're right there. And so I love that you pointed out the canyon. Shaye, you're not a local.
I'm not a local.
What are some of your favorite things that you like to do here in Amarillo?
Oh man. Well, we've got a little boy. He's 19 months old, and so going to parks is probably there's not a whole lot that we can do other than that with him. But I've been to Palo Duro Canyon a couple of times myself and gone hiking, and I'd love to get into mountain biking though. So you guys,
I got 2 bikes.
I've
We
done
just
it.
need one more.
I got one.
Oh, see,
hey,
I've
let's
got
go. Well, then we're gonna have to do that. But I don't know if we'll do the 24 hours in the canyon, but we.
we get 1,000 likes and subscribers. We'll see. I feel like I should have upped
not
that
a-
number.
The challenge, man.
I feel like that was a pretty conservative number.
No, I'm not opposed to that. Man, but I think going to Synergy, that's a big thing. We actually lived at the Town Square Apartments right there, right by Synergy,
Oh,
off of
cool.
Santi for a little while. So my wife and I did that. Went and saw a movie, man, at least probably once a week,
Yep.
if not more often than that.
For the viewers out there, every Tuesday you get cheaper movies. I think they're like $5 tickets.
That's right. I think you have to be a member of the rewards program or something that they have to get those $5 tickets.
So we are not
Maybe
affiliates
not.
of Synergy. But you might go check their website out. Verify what we said.
Yeah,
What
I'm
about
not
the
sure,
Christmas lights?
100%.
You and the family ever go out and
Yeah,
go to
so
the Christmas lights?
over Christmas we did that in Wolfland Village. We got to go check that out and
that's pretty
walk
cool.
around.
Tell me that
It's-
isn't insane.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's freezing. I mean, we'll maybe talk a little bit about the weather, but
Oh, we'll get into
the-
that next. That's next.
in the wintertime, yeah, I mean, it's a blast. My son being, I mean, at that time he was what, 13, 14 months old. So he didn't really know what he thought of all the people there. And Santa Claus, he was kind of standoffish when we were walking into Little B's Playhouse over there. And my wife and I take him over there. My wife takes Nash over there pretty often, every couple of weeks, to go hang out and play there. But that's where Santa Claus was sitting in there, and he
wasn't having it.
he wasn't about that.
He didn't like the guy in the red suit.
No, and what's terrible is as parents, you think that maybe the next time will be better when it comes to Santa Claus. But we tried to do that all within the same couple of weeks, and he's still. I mean, I wouldn't be having it. I don't want to go sit on Santa's lap. So
Okay.
my kid still hates Santa Claus. All that being said,
Not having it.
no.
Well, man, you mentioned you went to look at Christmas lights in Wolfland.
Yeah.
So tell us about Wolfland's neighborhood, what people can expect when they go to look at Christmas lights in Wolfland.
Oh man, it's awesome. That's a lot of good history about Wolfland. It's got brick streets. Still has the brick streets down there. 'Cause of course, huge trees out in the front yard. I actually bought a book on the history of Wolfland.
Man, I
Crazy
love
enough.
this. I love it.
Sam
it's
for
kinda
the
developed.
win again.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, just this doctor really invested in it and bought the land, and they planted the trees that you'll see over there, which is just huge looming trees for this area. I'm sure obviously there's listeners out there that are in different climates, they're going to have larger trees, but these trees are big. These are
For
large
Amarillo,
trees.
they're
They're
huge.
Yeah. Huge homes. There's some of them that you could buy. Did you know you could buy homes like off of a catalog back in the day? So they would get these Sears Roebuck home kits and take them down there, build them up, and man, they're huge and nice. Extremely well developed neighborhood. Yeah.
And it's cool too that like if you've went through recently, within the past probably 6 months to a year, there's renovations that are taking some of those older houses and turning them even more modern with still some of the historical elements, which is kind of
Absolutely.
cool.
Very cool.
But it's really, really cool how they've got street lights. I mean, they've got lights strung over the streets and sections.
Yep.
They've got stars and ornaments hanging from the trees that overhang the roadways. I mean, it is a cool feel at Christmas time, man.
Yeah,
it is cool.
So here's a question. There's those. Let's say you just had one of those homes, and you go in there, and it's got the old style windows. You know, we went into a
I
listing.
know where you're going with
You know,
this.
we had a listing that we were looking at, right? What was it, a couple of weeks ago?
Yep.
We go into the home. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's built in the 1920s, I believe. It's got the original window still in there. You know, single
In
pane.
great
So
shape.
cool.
Great shape.
Great
Yes.
shape.
Lead lined. I mean, they're beautiful. The question is, when we would have those open houses there, people come in and say, you know, how efficient are they? Well, I don't know. Do you keep it natural and traditional, or do you replace the windows?
Man, me being me, I like character. I like keeping the character of the home with updates on the inside. Like, I feel like today's buyers in our markets are definitely wanting more of an updated feel, but there's still some of us out there that love that kind of history and like keeping those elements together. I think there's a good blend between doing modern finishes on the inside, but keeping the historical character and charm of the home. But that one, I think I'd keep the windows, man.
Yeah, Shaye?
I think I'm in the same boat. I think that when it comes down to efficiency, I think, I don't know, there may be some people, you probably get 50-50 where some people care more about the efficiency than they do the look of a window or something like that. But for me, definitely the character in those old homes with having characteristics like that, I mean, I'm all about that. And I think people that are purchasing or looking to purchase in that neighborhood, for the most part, I mean, like you had said, there's a lot of construction going on, but it's just kind of just updating what's already there.
Yeah, and I love not to jump subjects again, but I love there's two other neighborhoods that while we were on the topic of Christmas lights in Wolfland, I personally think you got to go check out. One of them, Candy Cane Lane, Gainesboro,
Yes.
Coulter, that
Yep.
whole area.
Yeah.
So if you're in Amarillo
Yep,
and you're
that's
visiting
cool.
in the wintertime or you're here for the wintertime and it's around Christmas, check out Candy Cane Lane. You can walk through it. There's so many lights. Amarillo does an amazing job of Christmas lights versus everywhere else I've been. This place is lit up.
Yeah, just about every neighborhood you go into.
Lit up like a Christmas tree. It really is, though. Yeah. And then I think the other one is the colonies.
Yeah.
The colonies are just insane to just go see all the trees, all the houses, everything completely lit up. And if I had to put one more on there, probably the Greenways.
Yeah.
But I think those are like the must-see like Christmas light areas.
Yeah.
I love that you
100%.
also said this too. So you've been here your whole life.
Yeah.
I've been here most of my life. You transplanted here.
I did.
What do you like about the Amarillo weather, Shaye?
What's not to like? No, I'm just kidding. I like that you get all 4 seasons. Sometimes,
day.
In a day?
sometimes I was
In a
just
day?
gonna say that. Sometimes it can be in a day.
Every
that you
single
get all
weather
4
alarm,
seasons.
all in a day.
That's right. Yep.
Heat wave, freezing temps.
Yep.
hail,
Tornado
snow,
alley.
tornadoes. Yeah.
Yep. All of it. You get all of it. Man, but I mean, for us going to the swimming pool in the summertime where it's warm enough, I mean, there's some days where you're about 100 degrees, maybe a little bit more, where going and cooling off at the swimming pool with the family that's what we do.
must.
You've got to. So
Yeah.
that's what, man, we love jumping on opportunities like that. But I would much rather I'm a summertime and warm weather type of person over cold. And so when we're talking about winter, I don't know if you want to get me started on how much I dislike how cold the winters are here.
Yeah.
Is it the cold and the wind? Or
Yes.
okay.
No, it's both. Because I mean, grew up in Utah where it's cold. It'll get below 0 degrees, but there's no wind to go with it. That's when things. There's actually something that I was thinking about the other day. It popped up on one of my. I mean, I guess that was a few months ago now, but my wife used to work at the gym right over in that town square area. And there was one morning she was getting up to go to work. It was like 4:15 or something in the morning. And I looked at my phone to check the weather, and it showed -9, but felt like -20. It was 27 or 28. I took a screenshot of it on my phone because I'd never in my life seen anything like that.
Yeah, people would think that because we're
In Texas.
the Texas in the South,
Like, it's hot there all the time,
It's hot
right?
there all the time. No,
No.
I mean, because we're on the high plains.
Yep.
I lived in
with that high
Oregon,
elevation.
never got as cold as it does here in Texas.
Yeah.
And that was in the
Yes.
Pacific Northwest. The temperature was actually milder up there by far
Yeah.
than it is here. I mean, I've experienced, like you said, negative 20 wind chill in the wintertime to 120 in the summertime. Think about those ranges for a second.
Yep.
And I'm like, here's another fun fact. May 11th, 2008, I'm at WT at West Texas A&M University. I'm upstairs in the Human Performance Lab,
Upstairs.
grading papers. All of my students are walking in shorts and tank tops. And then in the afternoon, everybody's walking in parkas. And I have a window behind me I haven't even looked out. And I'm like, what is going on? I looked out the window, and there was 2 inches of snow on the ground. I looked at the weather report that day. It was 93 degrees, and then in 2 hours, it dropped below freezing and had 2 inches of snow on the ground. So whenever people like move to Amarillo, I'm like, just
Just be aware.
be aware. Be aware. We got some weather.
We need to give you a heads up. I always give my sister-in-law and brother-in-law a hard time about that because they moved here, and that's how we ended up here. They were like, oh, yeah, it's great. Come check out Amarillo. We were here, and it was great both times. We were like, oh, it's a little windy, but the handful of times that we came to visit, it was not as extreme as what it actually is. And I'm like, man, you guys did not give us a fair warning to when it comes to the weather. Just a heads up.
I mean, it's normal and typical in the like late winter, early spring. We could have wind fronts of upwards of 70, 80 mile an hour gusts.
Yeah.
I know where I live. I mean, there's blue swimming pools over everybody's fences and cars.
That's right.
So you might want to, if you got like a little poodle, bring them inside because they're flying at that point.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I do appreciate is it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
Like I don't like humidity. You know, the hot and humid, I don't like hot. I can bear hot and humid is tough.
Yeah.
I like the dry heat.
I like it too.
And just going along with that, it is a little windy here in Amarillo.
Just a little.
Which helps with the humidity, I guess.
It's a little bit, little windy, guys.
Yeah, and I think
we're not like the number 2 windiest city in America.
no.
Don't worry about that.
when people think Texas, that's what they think of is like warm and humid.
Yeah.
But not here in the Panhandle.
No.
I've chased many a tornado in my day in the Texas Panhandle.
I believe that.
Started chasing tornadoes when I was actually like 7 years old with my uncles. I remember the first one I went and chased was 7 or 9 miles east of Stinnett, where I grew up, and I was hooked from there, man.
Yep.
It was crazy
Wow.
storm chasers. You
That's
gotta watch out.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, funny story to go along with tornadoes. We were, I think it was the second or third day after we had moved here, and that was coming up on 4 years ago. It may be almost exactly to the day. But there were, I think, 11 tornadoes that were surrounding Amarillo, all going on at once. And we went over to somebody's house that they knew had that we knew that had a basement, just to go just in case. And I mean, nothing was close to Amarillo, but it was 11 tornadoes that had touched down.
So coming from
around.
Utah, what kind of environment did?
Man,
what were your thoughts when you're like, oh, there's 11 tornadoes around
Well,
here?
it didn't bother me as much as it bothered my wife. Taylor was, she was freaking out just a little
She's thinking,
bit.
where did you move me
Yeah,
to?
her and her sister both.
Let's say you have somebody looking to move to the area. What are a few tips that you can give somebody moving from anywhere else to Amarillo, Texas? Just some helpful tips.
I think getting plugged into the community. I think that I mean, for me in business, I know there's been a lot there over the last few years, but just getting plugged into the community, because our community, I feel like, is really, they all have that same mindset and the same heart, where everybody's really looking to help each other for the most part. Mm-hmm. And so I think that'll just help you get out and meet new people. And then from there, that opens the door for lots more opportunities. So whether you're here because of Bell Helicopters movie here, or Pantex, or whatever, for job opportunities, then I'll just say get plugged in. The community, it has a lot to offer. Amarillo does.
I love that.
Yeah, I've had a couple of out of town buyers and who didn't know what a again, the culture was like, and specific to them, so everybody has a specific culture that they're coming from, and if they could find that similar where they fit in, would be best. So
That's a great point. I don't feel like we
love
stress that enough in what we do a lot of times. Like, that's a brilliant point because it helps that transition be a lot smoother and easier for that family because they're already under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They got to find people that identify with where they're coming from or where they're from. Obviously the people in Oregon are different from the people in Amarillo in some aspects. There's got to be some cultural aspects. So to find those similarly like-minded folks.
Yeah. I love that. That's a good tip, man. I think the other one is just being aware of, I think one of the wonderful things and hard to decide things about Amarillo is there's so many new construction projects out in Amarillo right now. So I've heard from city planning before that we're on pace to double in size within the next 5 years. So right now we have a lot of infrastructure growth, right, with the outside loop around the already existing loop.
Exactly.
And all of these communities and schools being added right now with the Canyon School District, southwest Amarillo, northeast and east Amarillo is growing like wildfire. So I think it's really interesting for especially us as agents to be able to talk to people who are moving here in this area and asking really what their preferences are in a home, because in some instances right now, you could buy new construction cheaper than you can buy residential resale.
Yep.
And depending on what that family's looking for, I would even in some aspects, not all aspects, but in some aspects argue that new construction could be better for that family because of their stress levels. Now, the one thing to keep in mind with that, obviously, as I always tell buyers, this is if you're looking at new construction, the one thing you have to keep in mind is those closing dates and those finish dates are 100% completely movable. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, if you can be patient, if you're in a situation where you can afford to be patient, you don't have to be set on a hard deadline.
Yeah.
It's not a bad option to look at because a lot of times you can find something just as cheap as what you're going to find something on market for that you're going to have to put a ton of money and effort and energy into making it what this could be today.
Yeah.
Okay, Derek. So you're talking about people moving to Amarillo. How important is it, or is it important to, if they're looking for an agent here in Amarillo, how important is it and they're selling a home where they're at, for the collaboration of the agent here in Amarillo and the agent there in
I love that. That's a great
Mexico
question.
Or whatever.
So, we all work for the same brokerage. We all work for Real Broker. And I think one of the wonderful things about it is we have a very vast nationwide referral partner network, right? So not all brokerages in that aspect are created equal. Depending on who the company is and what agent you're selecting, they may or may not have referral partners across state lines because they may only be a local source. And so from that aspect, that's going to be stress on the family for having to go out and find their own person to be able to help them where they're at, right? As to where they could contact any of us, and no matter where they're at in the country, because of our vast network and collaboration between all these agents in our network, we can hook somebody up in South Carolina, Florida, anywhere. And we have relationships with those agents. We know how well they are. We know that if they're like-minded like us, because we're all in the same space together, it's going to create a smoother transaction and a smoother peace of mind for the clients in knowing that they have somebody that they can trust there and that they can trust where they're going.
Yeah.
I think that collaboration between agents is crucial for the family to feel like they're getting the best service they can to help with a stressful situation.
Yeah, because I think one of the fears that people have and when they move, well, in any circumstance, but especially if they're moving a great distance, is what's going to happen if I sell my house here and the one that I'm going to isn't ready, or something happens with it, and now I'm stuck in a homeless for a month, or stuck in a B&B for a month, or stuck in stuck at grandma's house for a month. Nobody wants that.
100%. And I think what's really cool is there's programs out there today, and I don't recommend this for every client. It depends on their situation, which we all do a consultation at the beginning of the process, right, with all of our buyers, with all of our sellers, to figure out what their goals are, what their needs are, what their timelines are. But there's resources out there right now, such as like a Homeward or a Knock, that we can put the links in the description if you're thinking about doing this. But it allows a person to purchase a home utilizing actually cash or a conventional loan, and then being able to move into that home while their home is being sold. So it, in a way, takes the pressure off the seller from having to fit on a tight timeline. Now, there's still a timeline attached, but it's a lot further out than your normal 30 to 60-day transaction.
Right.
So it takes that pressure off. It takes the pressure off the seller from that peace of mind of knowing, hey, we have somewhere we're going. We know where we're going because we could buy it now without having to sell our home. So you're able to actually drop the home sale contingency with both of those companies I mentioned to be able to purchase a home and then sell at your own pace.
But how comfortable do you feel with saying, you've done a couple of video showings with these out-of-town buyers, and they're like, that's it. We want to go with that. Would you recommend saying, hey, I like what you're saying, but you should see it in person?
Honestly, I love that you asked that question because my family, when we were moving back to Texas from Oregon, we bought our house with a video tour. So we had one of our trusted best friends, walk the home with our agent in a video tour, and that's how we decided on the home. And so I think in today's age with the use of technology, it makes it easier. The things that you don't get, right, are your auditory senses. So you don't get the smells. You don't get the full sight. You don't get the full hearing. You don't get some of your auditory senses to be able to really have a 100% yes to a home, right? But you can get it pretty close with a video walk tour and then also your home inspections.
Yes.
Depending on the inspectors, which we have great local inspectors. So if you need one, comment below, we'll hook you up. But I think your home inspectors today, the reports are so vast with most companies. And depending on the products, I mean, you can get a 3D layout of the floor plan so you know what the home's measuring looks like in every room. There's so many things now to help give you a better peace of mind than I think even a decade ago. Yeah. That I think it is easier now to buy a home sight unseen, and I've helped many people do that. But I will say 100% of the time, if you can get your feet in there, get your feet in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% of the time.
Absolutely.
Is it not possible a lot of times because of travel plans, speed of market? 100%. But I do think you can feel pretty confident. I think to get 100%, you got to get your feet in. You got to get that auditory senses. You got to be able to smell it, touch it, see it, everything.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going to go with it. Is you mentioned inspectors. I mean, people or friends like you said that you had. I think that's important to get somebody in there to really dive into the nitty gritty of, hey, what this house actually is.
Yeah.
And then for an inspector, it's pulling up a full report and what that whole report's going to look like.
And I even think too, if you want to just add another level of service, right? And this is where we could kind of collaborate and help other agents with this too, is if you are having an out-of-state buyer during your option period, don't just get your home inspector out there. Go ahead and schedule a contractor out there to be out there with the home inspector to say, hey, come in towards the end of the home inspection, let your contractor see the report, and then go ahead and give like a price value of those items that are on that report right up front to be able to have that person have a good peace of mind of what they're looking at going in or negotiating tools in the process with the seller. I mean, and then I think between both of those sources, you're going to end up having a good peace of mind of like what you're looking at going into the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Roughly for the most part,
right.
You're going to have a 98, 99% feel if you have all of that and all of those things piecing together.
Right.
But if at all possible, get your feet in there so you can see it yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's I think the takeaway is it's a great point. We do what our client wishes, right? So they got to be market savvy, or we need to help them be market savvy. If we're in a hot market and they just don't have the time, and that time constraint just won't allow for that in-person viewing. We just got to let them know, and they make the decision at the final decision is on them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's hot. I can't tell you how long this is going to be available.
Right. I love that. Yeah. Kind of tying this all in together here. Anything else you think people need to know about Amarillo, Texas? And or want to know about Amarillo, Texas?
Man, it's a great town to raise your kids in. That's what I would say. And one thing, just you know, just going back to 2008, people talk about the economy that happened. Amarillo, this area was fairly well insulated, and I think that we're going to continue seeing that in the future through downturns. We're going to have a pretty well insulated area.
Yeah, I 100% agree. What about you?
Yeah. Man, I know that I talked a lot of crap about the weather. It can be up and it can be down. But really, Amarillo as a whole it's been an incredible place for us. My wife and I moved here when we were, pretty much just married, 5-6 months into being married. And we had our first baby, and we actually have another one coming in less than 8 weeks now. So that's what we're looking at, is really raising a family here over the next several years.
I love that.
So,
and I think even me, right? I revealed in this podcast that even though I've been here 30 plus years, I even just recently, within the last couple, did something I've never done before here. And I think people could live in Amarillo for a long period of time and experience the same thing.
Yeah.
You could be here forever and experience something new almost all the time if you wanted to. It's a small, big town with tons of things to do, tons of variety, tons of restaurants, tons of shopping, tons of places to go, tons of family locations. If you're single, there's great places to, go hang out and do your thing. There's pretty much something for everybody here in this town. And I think as it pertains to real estate, I think we are still a diamond in the rough for sure. With your median home price below the national average, that's a great place to invest.
Yeah.
You want to invest in places like that are below the median average, because in inflationary periods or a recession, your money is hedged a little better against those. And I think even for investing purposes, those that are looking into multifamily, single-family, short-term rentals, we're still a great market, especially for multifamily right now.
Yep.
It's not hard to find 10-plus cap in Amarillo, Texas, with some of the investments that are out there. Yeah. You just have to know the right agent to get you off-market deals.
That's right.
We have 3 of them sitting at this table. But I love Amarillo. I love that you said it's a great place to raise a family. You're looking to do the same. I'm doing the same. Yeah. But I even think for business aspects, for investing, for long-term growth, you have great potential here in this town. Yeah. Tons of stuff to do for anybody. You still have your outdoor enthusiast, even though it doesn't look like it, because you're hard to find trees here in the Texas Panhandle. But I think, man, if I could add one thing to Amarillo, Texas, it's more trees.
Yeah.
If you could add one more thing to Amarillo, Texas, what would it be?
Maybe a little bit more water.
More water. What about you?
A little more moisture.
Water and trees.
Yep.
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't think that there's anything specific that I can think of when it comes to things like that. When we're talking about water and trees, I don't know. Maybe I could take away a little bit of the wind. That might help.
Okay. So add a few more wind blocks.
A few more wind blocks.
Hey,
trees.
more trees.
More trees, man.
Well, then I'm on that train. Let's go.
Well, it's been a great episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in to episode 2, all about Amarillo. It's been real. We'll see you in episode 3. Please like, share, subscribe, and thank you for your support.
Yep. Shaye Olson.
Sam Martinez.
Derek Manasco.
Later.
We're out.